So even if you ignore sort of the Olympic performances, like I took a look at the way that Jersey plays and their deployment a while back, and it just I find it puzzling that like they're not scoring because they're playing a bunch of guys who don't and can't score. Right? Like if you're trotting out like Luke Glendening or Palada's not there anymore, but Stefan Neeson is a player I really like, but he's gotten slower and less effective 5-on-5. Like when you have a lot of these complementary players who can't score, obviously that puts more stress on your top players. And the thing that when I work with Sheldon in Toronto, whether it's with the Marlies or uh, when he moved up to the Leafs, we try to get complementary players who can drive play and score the odd goal. Like in Toronto with the Leafs, we had Jason Spezza as our fourth line center. Then we had Joe Thornton, and it, it and that, at least in the regular season, it took off a lot of pressure from the top players. And I just find that Sheldon has evolved as a coach for better and in some ways for worse, in the sense that when we were working together back in 2019, 2020, like I don't think he'd be the kind of guy to dress a Luke Glendening just to win faceoffs and to play the PK, right? Like I think like back then he was all in on having four lines that can drive play, that can score, that can make plays. And it's funny, like I during training camp he invited me for lunch and we talked for a couple of hours. And one of the things that I brought up is if you look at NHL coaches, doesn't matter who they are. There are almost no exceptions to this rule, but the longer you work in the league, the more sort of calcified your thinking tends to become. So whatever criticism that we can sort of levy against Sheldon in terms of his choices or his philosophy, I think like I don't think I would have done any better. I don't think most other coaches would have done any better, because when you start, having these heartbreaks in the playoffs and changing your way of thinking and playing a quote unquote less risky game that's more conservative, like that happens to everybody over time. And I think with the Devils this season, it's a good wake up call in the sense that I think they've kind of swung overly cautious, and they really should be getting more use, more speed, more skill into the system. Um, because honestly, like, when Devils fans ask me why the team can't score, I'm like, have you looked at who they're trotting out? Like, it's not a surprise.